All right, I'm Mike Moranto, Senior Associate Athletic Director at Daemen College, and we're going to continue with our Daemen at a Distance series, and I'm joined right now by our head men's and women's cross country and track and field head coach, Pete Gratien. And coach, I want to recap the season a little bit with you for both the cross country and track and field teams. And I guess before we get to that, let's start with the current situation with the pandemic. It's caused a cancellation of the remainder of the track and field season. You guys had wrapped up the indoor season in late February. We're getting ramped up to start the outdoor season in late March when everything kind of happened, and unfortunately the season was cut short. So take me through. It's obviously an unprecedented situation. What did you guys go through as a coaching staff with your team with the pandemic?
Yeah, well, like you said, this is unprecedented, and for us, and I think for a lot of teams, this all kind of came down during spring break when the athletes were away. So it was challenging. The communication aspect, especially, was challenging because kids were home, they were with their families, and we had to kind of coordinate the effort to reach out to everyone and let them know what was going on. It's disappointing, especially for a lot of the seniors, that some of them have their senior years cut short. Now, in our case, we at least got through our indoor season first, so there is some saving grace there. And they'll still have remaining eligibility, and a lot of them are in graduate programs where they'll be able to use that, which is nice. But it was rapidly changing situation. It seemed like it, it's been going on forever, even though it's only been 3 weeks. But what we've been trying to do now is shift our focus from training in the season to academics and make sure everyone has their ducks in a row academically, because that'll be the most important thing, is making sure everyone has got the grades and is figuring out this online learning thing so that they're able to participate right away for us next year.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that. What are both yourself and the director of cross country track and field, Judy Arlington, what are you guys doing to support the student athletes in your program as they make that transition to completely online learning?
Yeah, well, we have a group message that we use all year for communication. We have a very large track team, about 50 kids on the roster. So we use that mainly for the mass communication. And then I've been reaching out to people individually just to ask them how they're adjusting, encourage them to still use the academic support that's available. I know a lot of it, academic coaching has shifted to remote, distance based, but it's still there. And, we're just trying to let them know that that we're here to still help them get through this, and that it's normal to have struggles at first adjusting to the online learning as opposed to in person. And we're just encouraging them to reach out to us and to our academic support staff at Daemen if they have any issues or if they're having trouble adjusting.
With that said, you were able to obviously get through the fall cross country season. So I think let's start there as far as when we're talking season recaps. The men's team, very young team. You had your two most experienced runners. One got hurt preseason and was never able to compete for you. The other, Mike Swiniarski, or should mention Josh Bodner was the first one. But Mike Swiniarski started to have a really nice year, and then he got hurt towards the end, missed the second half of the season. So if we start with the men, kind of take me through what you saw out of your young men's team.
Yeah, I mean the men's team was very young this year, especially by the end of the year, and it hurt it hurt us for sure not having Josh and Mike there competing for us. It's pretty unfortunate with Josh. This just the timing and nature of his injury took a long time to heal and happened right before the season. And with Mike, similar situation. He kind of had a couple of twisted ankles turned into other things pretty early in the season, and so that was tough. But we had a we still had Cal Silvestri as a senior to kind of show the way for the younger guys. And we had some really good development out of a couple freshmen. And we're looking forward to building off that next year. Now, Aiden Van Slyke really improved tremendously throughout the season and kind of eclipsed what you would have thought he would have done coming into the year, just with his times before college. But yeah, Aiden Van Slyke and John Brugman improved tremendously during the year. Dominic Clementi just started getting going at the end of the season, and Alex Reynolds was, quietly very consistent for us, and he really helped keep the team together in some aspects because we had a very small team, and he was somebody we could always count on and depend on.
That's, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a difficult thing going from obviously from high school to college, as difficult as it is, but it's not like a basketball game, right? Where the hoop is the same height that you play at in high school, and in cross country they're running farther distances than what they do in high school. So I imagine that's difficult for them.
Yeah, I mean, our championship race is 10K for the men, and in high school the longest they run is 5K. And when you're doubling the race distance like that, there is a big difference in training, a big difference in the energy systems you're using during the race. So somebody who may have been better at shorter distances coming out of high school and was just kind of hanging on through 5K, they're going to struggle a lot more for 10K at first while they're adjusting to the increased volume of training for the longer race distance.
Sure. So promising, looking ahead for the men with some of the development you had out of the younger guys. Switching over to the women were pretty solid all year long, really led by Cassandra Nole, she redshirt sophomore, really out of Fort Erie, Ontario, really took her running to another level.
Yeah. Yeah, Cassie, she was a big help for us, real big surprise. Not surprising in the fact that she ran the way she did, but she didn't come from a typical cross country background. In high school, she ran track, she played soccer, dabbled in some longer distances, shorter distances, but had never really, I guess, trained and dedicated herself to longer distance races. And she's really taken a liking to it. And that's half the battle, is just wanting to get better and improve. And so she was huge for us. And the other girls, Sarah Golas, Savannah Warner, they've been solid the whole time they've been at Daemen. They continue to be solid. And Taya Mucha had a really good season for us. And then really at our regional meet, senior Shania Levecki came up big. She had struggled for a little bit about a year before that, and she really rebounded strong and came on strong at the right time to help us do really well at our conference meet and regional meet.
Worth mentioning, the women's team finished third at the East Coast Conference Championship meet last October. I believe the women's team has finished third or better every year we've been in the ECC. So that's going back to 2013. And definitely glad you mentioned Taya as well, because I think she's someone that just kind of flies under the radar for you a little bit. But I think she's super solid, super consistent, and it's nice to see her have a really nice year again for you. Switching over, you move it into the indoor the indoor track and field season. Take me through that. Who really stood out for you during indoor, both men and women?
Well, I'll start on the men's side. Early in the season, our indoor season is split by the intersemester break. So we actually had a meet during the first semester, and there were some promising signs on the men's side out of our sprint group. We had some really stellar performances out of Ethan Majewski early on, and Rodney Corbin was solid as always for us. Sullivan Keller really, he's improved each year at Daemen, and he's a thrower for us, and he's again sort of like Cassie, somebody who didn't really do the sport in high school, and he's improved tremendously each year, and he's really into it, and he scored big points for us at the conference meet. He was the conference champion weight throw, and he was really solid in shot, and we're really looking forward to outdoor, because there's a lot of other events in outdoor that he's fantastic at. So on the men's side, our numbers of actual athletes were relatively low. So we were limited to having, one or two really strong competitors in each event group this year. So, but that being said, I think that there were some really good signs out of the team as a whole, their willingness to compete, their willingness to come to practice and put in the work. So, I'm looking forward to that group next year, and we have a large number of recruits on the men's side coming in next year. So we definitely have pieces to build off of. I know Rodney Corbin, he's going to be returning for his senior year, and Sullivan Keller has eligibility for next year as well, and he's planning on starting a grad program at Daemen. So we're returning some really strong pieces, and we're adding some good recruits, and we're getting some runners back that were injured from cross country, and that team should be much stronger next year. On the women's side, we had a lot of strong competitors. It seemed like at our conference meet, we had a lot of third places, which is fantastic. I mean, it's hard to finish top three in an individual event, but Betty Jones really came on strong this year in weight throw. We had Cassie Nole in the 5K. She came in third place with a very strong effort. Took huge chunks of time off of her 5K from the year before. Savannah Warner, she's a strong mid-distance runner for us. She placed well in the 1,000. And then this year we really started to build our depth on the women's sprint side. So we had a lot of pretty good sprinters on the women's side. None of them really went out and scored top 3 at conference or anything like that, but the writing was on the wall. We had the depth where they were poised to make some noise for the outdoor season, had it not been unfortunately canceled. But there's a lot of promise and potential out of that group, just as a whole. And again, same with the men's team, just beginning to have some team cohesiveness. We were seeing that on the women's side. People were having fun and wanted to compete. So those were the big takeaways, I guess, from the indoor season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for spending a couple of minutes with me today, Coach. Wish you and your family well. I know you're cooped up with a wife and kids at the house there, the same as I am here. So getting a lot of family bonding time. But
Yeah.
wish you guys well. And again, thanks for spending a couple minutes with me.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
All right.
Take care.